Welcome back to the Explainer. You know, every senior engineer eventually figures out this one open secret. Writing great software is almost never about just writing more code. It's really about solving the exact same recurring problems without reinventing the wheel every single time. As projects grow, your code can easily devolve into a tightly coupled mess where adding one tiny feature breaks another. Today, we're going to fix that by looking at design patterns.
So, let's tackle the big question right out of the gate. Why do design patterns actually reduce system complexity? Well, think about poorly designed systems. High-level modules end up depending way too much on low-level implementation details, which just creates this incredibly brittle structure. Patterns flip that. They invert the dependency. They essentially act as a shared engineering language that keeps your system flexible, scalable, and easy to reason about.
Here is our roadmap for today's Explainer. We'll start with the secret to great software, then dive into building objects right with creational patterns, assembling the pieces with structural patterns, and coordinating communication with behavioral patterns. Finally, we'll wrap up with some best practices and pitfalls.
All right, part one, the secret to great software and how we actually go about reducing system complexity.
So, what are we really talking about here? A design pattern is essentially a reusable architectural blueprint. It's a proven template for solving a design problem that you see over and over again in software. The classic Gang of Four laid out 23 of these. But keep in mind, these aren't just specific algorithms or chunks of code you copy and paste. They're concepts. They give your entire engineering team a shared vocabulary.
And here is how they actually work to reduce that complexity. They strictly separate responsibilities. So instead of having a God class that knows literally everything, object creation gets isolated, communication gets completely standardized, and those messy dependencies are hidden away. By utilizing the inversion of dependency principle, your high-level modules stop caring about low-level details, making your systems dramatically easier to extend and test.
Now, those original 23 patterns, they map really cleanly into three main buckets. You've got creational patterns, which handle how we build our objects. You have structural patterns, which deal with connecting and assembling those objects. And finally, behavioral patterns, which coordinate exactly how they all talk to each other.
Let's move on to section 2, creational patterns, or how to build your objects right. These patterns basically answer one fundamental question: how should this object be created? Let's look at the factory pattern with a quick Python example. If we define a payment factory function that takes a method argument, we can have it return a Stripe payment object if the method is Stripe, or just default to a PayPal payment. The beauty here is that the caller doesn't actually care which class gets created, because all that creation logic is centralized in one spot.
Then we have the builder pattern, which is an absolute lifesaver when you're dealing with a massive, confusing constructor. Instead of passing, 10 random parameters at once, you build it step by step. Like here, we instantiate a burger builder, then we call individual methods to add sesame buns, add a fish patty, add mozzarella cheese, and finally, we just hit build. It gives you ultimate control and keeps your code super readable.
All right, section 3, structural patterns. Now that we have our objects, let's assemble the pieces. So what happens if you have two completely incompatible interfaces? Well, you'd use the adapter pattern. Think about trying to plug a standard USB cable into a micro USB port. It doesn't work out of the box, right? The adapter acts as a wrapper that translates one interface into exactly what the client expects. It allows objects that are fundamentally incompatible to just collaborate seamlessly. Another amazing structural tool is the Facade pattern. This one is all about hiding immense, chaotic complexity behind one really simple interface. A perfect everyday example of this is JavaScript's native Fetch API. Under the hood, making a network request is wildly complex, but for us developers, we just call fetch, pass in a URL, and chain a .then to parse the JSON response. The Facade does all the heavy lifting for us.
Moving right along to section 4, behavioral patterns. This is all about coordinating communication.
A really huge one here is the observer pattern. This is a push-based system where one subject basically broadcasts events and multiple listeners or observers react automatically. It's exactly like subscribing to a YouTube channel. A new video drops and all the subscribers get notified instantly. This concept is actually the backbone of reactive programming. It's what powers things like React's useEffectHook and the RxJS library.
Then there's the strategy pattern, which is fantastic for swapping algorithms on the fly without touching your surrounding business logic. Look at this snippet. We set a gateway variable to a Stripe instance and call gateway.pay. Boom! We're using the Stripe algorithm. If we suddenly need to support PayPal, we literally just swap the strategy object. This completely saves you from writing those massive nightmare if-else chains.
Finally, Section 5, best practices, pitfalls, and knowing when absolutely not to use patterns.
Look, the absolute biggest mistake developers make is trying to force patterns everywhere just to look smart. Keep in mind, a lot of the original Gang of Four patterns were designed specifically for C++ and Java. Modern languages like Python and JavaScript often solve those exact same problems right out of the box with native language features. Senior engineers don't just blindly memorize 23 patterns. They use them only when a simple function genuinely won't cut it. Don't add complexity if you don't need to.
There's a great saying for this. The best pattern is often the simplest one that keeps future changes cheap. That really hits the nail on the head. Remember, the whole point of these patterns is to remove tight coupling. It's not just an excuse to add extra layers of fancy abstraction for the fun of it.
So, as you dive back into your own code base today, whether you're working with proxy objects in a Vue 3 frontend or building out a complex Python backend, ask yourself this: which architectural blueprint is actually going to keep your next feature change cheap? Focus on solving real problems without reinventing the wheel and watch that system complexity just melt away. Thanks for hanging out with us for this explainer. Catch you next time.